transportation is what I'm going to be focusing on. And it's a, can you hear me okay? Squat. Not a squat. Can you hear me better now? Yes? Okay, so I guess I want to read. I can't talk to the microphone mostly. Anyway, I like to have as many as I can because I'd like to go on besides transportation. That's my focus. So my focus here is transportation, our local situation that we create ourselves, our carbon imprint, which is affecting our climate as well, and some of the things that are happening here in our environment that we need to be looking at. And then the last part would be looking at the SMR. I'm going to use Steamboat Mountain Resorts, and I say SMR a lot because it's a big mouthful to swallow, and it doesn't taste very good, if you know what I mean. And so I'm going to look at their how they affect the community from the transportation, the safety part, and then what I call collateral damage. Even if you're not out in Stagecoach, the whole county, even Greg, will be affected with collateral damage. So I'm a meteorology guy, and I like to connect our traffic and our carbon footprint to what's going on in our community. So here's a list of things in terms of what transportation is impacting, why their carbon footprint they put off. Right now, we've got 125 years of data on our average temperature, and it's 3 degrees warmer than it was 125 years ago. So global warming is here. That's twice the global rate. We're in a decade right now of extreme drought because of the high temperatures, as well as the lack of moisture. Our forest up there in Fish Creek is very dry, and if it burns, that's about 90% of our water. We could not survive. The Yampa River has been closed many times by recreation because the flow is low, it's too warm, or there's aquatic impacts. This year's bare minimum snowpack speaks for itself. December was the warmest record ever. It was 9 degrees average above normal. This could be the norm in the future. And also our winters are starting slower and later, and they're melting quicker and faster and reducing the water. Now these are all aspects of climate change. Now granted, our one little climate footprint down here may not change like this is global, but it still has an impact, and we should be responsible for that. So here's some statistics about how we're not responsible. We have 6,700 daily trips in 24 between Steamboat and Gray, and it increased by 600 to 7,000 plus this year. And CDOT says that that section of the road is unacceptably unsafe, and CDOT says the part of the road right through our Steamboat is unsustainable. So we're in a place where our transportation is getting us in trouble before we even have SMR come to our town and increase all those carbon footprints. This is ironic. In 2000, the city hired some consultants. They said, we've got a traffic problem. 2000? Okay, well, things changed. Anyway, they hired some consultants, and the consultants said, if you want to deal with the elimination of the congestion through town, we can do all kinds of great things. We can do one lane on Yampa, or one lane on Oak, or one way on River Road, or on Allison Hill, or we can dig a tunnel underneath, or we can go over Eagle Mountain. All these are pretty unfeasible, but if perchance Stagecoach Ranch comes through, and we have this great demand for more traffic and more tourists, and the people that are coming with them, we could end up slicing our little town into just a bunch of off-ramps and exits, just like a lot of little other towns have happened, if you notice, in Colorado. So we don't want to do that. But that's what I call collateral damage. Okay. One thing that's really important about our transportation is Climate Action Plan did an analysis of our greenhouse gases. And that tells you what's happening in our traffic. It gives you all the percentages of what's going on. So this is a 5-year analysis of our carbon footprint from 2018 to 2023. And some really interesting things came up. Even though our population decreased during that time, we had 26% more vehicle miles traveled. Now, we're poor people. Why are we driving more? Well, it turns out a lot of people who didn't like COVID were suffering from the COVID process. For people who are wealthy, who have lots of money, who can come here and buy those houses that we can't afford, they're coming in. Okay? And they're the ones that are probably driving the travel increase because they have the money to do it. We just don't go driving around because we want to spend money around. So that's one of the problems that...
We have to drive in to work. That's why the vehicle miles travel is going up.
Right, that's one of them. So see, I can't go to affordable housing and affordable housing, so I can't comment on that. Okay, so leave me, give some slack. I can only focus on what I'm doing. And so if Stagecoach happened to be built, then we're going to see a lot wealthier clients of a lot more wealthy money, and they will increase travel. These folks are not going to be using the RTA or the SST because they want their separate space, so they're going to be using their own private vehicles. They could be limos, I don't know. The other part of the route counting greenhouse gas was a 25% increase, and guess what else?
Jet airplanes.
Airplanes, right on. So why are we having so many jet airplanes coming in here, especially private? Again, COVID, and wealthier folks are using those to get in. They're not using our big passenger planes. It's possible that if Stagecoach was built, most of those folks will be coming in on private jets. There's a private jet gate and entranceway at the airport now in Hayden, just for private jets, not just for regular people. And so I was talking to somebody about what it's like to live around Hayden right now. And between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. at night, they're flying all over Hayden. And during the tourist time, it's just like constant. It sounds like LAX, if you know what I mean. So that's one of the what we call collateral damage. It's not even on site. And it goes on and on and on. What's interesting is you'll love this. The airport, in order to make up for all these new flights and possible new flights, they've added new capacity so they can have more flights. They've increased the fuel storage from 7 to 30,000 gallons, so when people fly in here, they have fuel to leave. And then right now we have 469,000 passengers that come through there per year, and there will be more. And I imagine that people from SMR will be using a lot of those facilities to do that as well. So again, we result in traffic congestion, more planes, and a larger footprint, carbon footprint, which will impact our climate here and give us many more seasons like we have right now. So who are these folks? I don't know them personally, though I may have rubbed shoulders with them sometime, but they want to live in a separate community from us. They want to ski in a separate ski area from us. They want to travel with their own jets and private cars and limousines separate from us. That is not much of a community as far as I'm concerned. And then, not to discredit their employees, but there will be over 1,000 employees driving out or commuting to their area in Stagecoach and with their cars to increase traffic problems as well as our carbon footprint. So I'm kind of covered from Steamboat down to Craig, and now I'm going to take you on a journey with me from Steamboat on out. So as we move south on 40, we go through the ski area and all that complex, and we leave that behind. And then we pass what's called an urban growth boundary that we have in our community, so we don't sprawl more like Vail and Aspen. So it's interesting, it's all kind of preserved land. There's reservations, there's DNRs, there's ranchers who use some of that, or maybe they just lease it, and it's all open space. It says this is what our county is about, South Route, and it extends it right up to the border of Steamboat Springs. So what's really interesting, this is a little sidelight, Gary's telling some of his personal stories, but I'd like to share a couple of mine. In the 1980s, about 10 miles down 40, there was a proposed ski area called Lake Catamount. And it was going to have inhabitants of probably 10,000 people, a second ski area, and between us and town, all that open space, we just wall-to-wall development would look like Vail, Aspen. And again, instead of being a town with a ski area, or a ski area with a town, we'd be a town with 2 ski areas. Probably, but you get the point. And so a group of citizens, fierce citizens, a group from Sierra Club, a owner who is interested in maybe changing what he's trying to do with it, and time and economics helped us out. So this could be something that could happen as well in this situation. But they did get the application for the ski area. But we still fought it, and we bargained, we found the table, and today we have a private club out there, 43 homes, but that's all. We still have our urban growth boundary. So that's a possibility here, and many solutions. So as we go down 40, we're taking a right-hand turn on 131. You all follow me? Okay, great. And as we approach Oak Creek Canyon, there's a road off to the left. Anybody know the number of that road?
14.
And what else is it called? There you go, okay. So, I'm not going to take you down that road, but how many people have driven that road? Okay, oh, good. Did you enjoy it? In the winter? When it has those kind of curved sides that you slide off to the side? Well, anyway, it's got right angles. It was designed in 1920, and it's just a crazy place to drive, very difficult in the winter. And so, in order for this project to go on, they have to mitigate that. I don't know how you mitigate that. It's impossible. It's very, very difficult. And so that would be one of the main places to get to this area. And you know, if 131's blocked off, which way do you go? And how many times is 131 blocked off from accidents? Lots of times. So now we're back on 131 here, and everybody knows it really well. I can describe it as a winding and weaving two-lane road through Oak Creek Canyon with few shoulders, multiple precarious drop-offs, and shady areas that hide those icy conditions in the winter that you always miss. Is that correct? Well, imagine they want to send 7,000 more vehicle trips through there in the winter. Okay, that's one thing you probably couldn't mitigate because it's very difficult, but that's one of the suggestions they have to do. And just imagine if that's the only way for search and rescue or emergency vehicles to get there. That's another problem. So that's kind of what I'm seeing there on the approach roads. Now, now there's one other area around Stagecoach, which is all the county roads, 212, 16, whatnot, and you know what they're like in the winter. And imagine employees, construction workers having to use those roads as well. Imagine the one road between Oak Creek and Yampa. Yeah. It's narrow, no shoulders, deers are jumping out of the bushes all the time. Are we going to fix that? I'm not sure. So a lot of these roads are really difficult to mitigate, and they'll be extremely expensive. Now, the county was interested in having somebody evaluate these, so they hired a consultant. And if a road is A value, it's safe and acceptable. If it's D or F, it's unsafe and very dangerous. So today, those roads are A, B, and C around that area. Take a deep breath. It's not easy. Okay. In 2030, these roads will go down to D and C, and that's before SMR builds out, before it even starts to build. In 2040, SMR is supposed to be built out, and all these roads go to D and F category, which means they're unsafe. Now, give an example. The county required tailwater development, Stagecoach, to provide $8 million to mitigate the road impacts, if they could. And this is 153 multifamily units, just kind of like stacked on top of each other. And the other one, they have 40 single families. And they are generating about 3,000 daily trips, just on that. That's not including the daily trips that the people who live there generate. And that cost was too much for them, and so they said, we're not going to do it right now. Just imagine the cost of road improvements, if possible, for that same transportation demand for 750 mega homes. A development 5 times the size of Tailwater. Now we're told they have all the money, but what they're going to do is they're going to buy us out of them. So that's kind of a problem there. And then also, there are many other side roads that we do not talk about that are in the area. They're dirt roads, 212, 16. They're be very difficult for them to be upgraded. And most of those roads will be used by people who live there, people who work at SMR, and construction workers, not just the folks who own the property. So that's kind of what I wanted to lay out to you folks. I hope you get it all. And then I want to tell some stories like Gary does. He does a good job. I like that. I'm going to go back a little history. And, this is a catamount. I forgot to tell you about this. I'm going to talk about it for a moment and use that as an analogy of what we can do here. Okay, we're wolves on the back leg of an animal, and we're going to take it down and not eat it, but try to survive with it. So back in 1980, the community fought off and stopped and slowed down the ski Catamount area. And it didn't happen right away. They got their permit, but we were there on and on and on, Sierra Club board members and a few other individuals, to make sure it didn't happen. And so even if this thing gets accepted, there's still a chance to work with these folks. There's still a chance to file all kinds of things to make sure they're following what they're going to do. The biggest thing is all the mitigations they say they'll do, will they really do it? A lot of times they won't. Their history is they don't do it. So we hung in there for years and years and years. And what was really interesting, if we hadn't done that whole group of people, imagine a ski area at Catamount and what it would look like between Steamboat and Catamount and the traffic and the airplanes and everything else. So just that one thing, to me, that was the biggest legacy I ever get left Steamboat whenever I leave, is that one thing. And I hope that the folks here who are working on this realize they have a chance to leave a legacy as well. Because right now, the folks in Stagecoach, they face a juggernaut of this SMR development. These people are powerful. They have more money than everything. And these folks in Stagecoach are attempting to retain and maintain their community. And that is so important, like everybody else has mentioned. At the time in 1980, when the local citizens took on this Lake Catamount development, we had no idea what the impacts of our actions were. And not until 20 years later, when they rescinded the application to the ski area, we realized something happened. And not until 45 years later did we realize that the Sardis Creek area, that right there is going to be put back into public land, no ski area, and be part of the wilderness area. There are things we do today, we have no idea what the results are. And that's a little important, because if you're beat down to begin with, you got to keep on going and going and trying. And there's many ways to do this. So the question I use tonight is, what is your legacy? Are you folks going to step up? Am I going to step up? Are we going to deal with this? And I think it's really important. So there's a QR code here that's on the screen. There's one of the tables, and you get a chance to click on that and weigh in what you believe in. And when you get to the symbol, when you get to the page, you have to look at. It's really pretty confusing. This Val kind of did a very good job. If you go all the way down the list of all the applications to the very bottom, it says all applications. You click that, and then you make all your comments. We have a sheet back there that lists some of those to help you make those comments. And hopefully we can save our community, and maybe we may even have this place, but we make it fit our needs, not their needs. So thank you very much.